Welcome to CarePrep Westchester. My name is Beverly Carter, and today we're going to talk about older driver safety with a program called Keys to Driving Safely, brought to you by the Westchester County Department of Senior Programs and Services Older Driver Coalition. We start this program by looking at changes in the roadways and changes in ourselves. And I ask you to think about the changes you've noticed in cars, for example, since you first started driving. So maybe if you started driving in the 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s, what would you notice in terms of how your first car was or how cars were at that time? Were there stick shifts? Was the driving automatic? What did you notice? Were the cars as fast? Were there radios and other devices in your cars? What was happening at that time? So if you compare where you were with your first car to where you are with your current car, how much has changed over the years? Like I said, maybe they're faster, there's more activity while you're driving, automatic brakes, the cars that park for you and have blind spot detection and all these wonderful new advances. But they are also changes. We also have our cell phones, people talking to us more readily with expectations that we're going to respond as passionately as required. All these little things that take our attention away from the road. Now I ask you to consider the driving environment since you first obtained your driver's license. How has that changed? What have you noticed on the roads? Traditionally, people will say that the roads are wider. There are more cars on the roads. The cars are moving faster. There's less patience. The signs now are starting to get a little bit bigger than they used to be, if there was a sign at all. The majority of the roads now are paved. What are some of the other things that you've noticed in terms of your driving environment and your car over the years? And last but not least, what changes have you noticed in yourself in the last 2 to 5 years? Well, generally, we recognize that as we age, our flexibility sometimes can be limited, and maybe there are illnesses or other things that prevent us from moving the way we used to. Maybe we're not 20 anymore. Our eyesight changes. Our hearing may change. Our reaction times traditionally can decrease. But the question is, what do you notice in yourself over these last couple of years? And recognize and understand that whatever these things that you're noticing over the years implicitly impact your driving ability, or at least the things that you've got to handle on the road. Some of the common areas of concern for older drivers are yielding the right of way. And we believe traditionally it's because most drivers are no longer as flexible as they used to be in terms of turning their head to look to see what traffic is coming. We're noticing more and more that drivers just drive. They just keep going. They don't yield. They don't stop. And in essence, really don't look to see what's coming and really take a huge risk. Another area of concern is turning, in particular left turns or crossing traffic. And this is a concern for one of the very same reasons as yielding the right of way. Most drivers don't take into consideration the rate of speed the oncoming traffic is moving at. And for this reason, we encourage people who are having difficulty maybe turning or being as flexible as they need to see what's happening or what's coming at them to take multiple right-hand turns so that they wind up being perpendicular to the road that they want to take and have a light to sort of get them through the turn. Another area of concern, stop lights and signs. And not exactly sure, if it's that people don't see the signs or if there's just impatience there. But we certainly encourage people to follow and to obey the traffic signals. for their own safety. Changing lanes. It's a similar issue here in terms of looking, to see what's around you before you make a move. But a lot of times also the blind spots in the mirrors are not adjusted. So drivers can't really see what's coming on either side of them, which makes it very dangerous. Another area is passing other vehicles. Sometimes this is done quickly and blindly, so that drivers are not really aware of how close maybe the car is next to them, or that there is another car that they're passing. Maybe they don't even see it when they're moving from one lane to the next, and that's a problem. Merging into traffic, similar to yielding the right of way. Drivers these days seem to just go. There's no stop, no yield. The merge into traffic is one that most don't even consider looking to see where they're merging into. They can't see what's coming toward them as they're merging into this new lane, and they're just moving. Yielding to pedestrians. This is a really big piece of information here, that pedestrians absolutely have a right to be as safe as possible, especially when following the street signs. They do have the right of way if they're in a crosswalk, but they also have a responsibility as pedestrians to take care of themselves. So really to pay attention to pedestrians as we see them in the street. Most times they're not really paying attention to what they're doing. They may have their music on, or they might be on the phone, or they might have children, or they might be a senior who's having difficulty crossing the street, and maybe it's taking them longer than necessary. And so the request is just that we just relax and allow them to cross the street. Another area of concern is maintaining speed as posted. And this is twofold. One, of course, it speaks to the people who are speeding, and to ask them to certainly drive within the speed limit, so that we prevent any undue accidents. But also for those people who are driving under the speed limit, for them to keep in mind that driving too slowly is also a detriment and very dangerous on the road. And if you're not able to maintain the speed as posted, if you're uncomfortable doing that, to start looking at finding alternatives to the road that you're taking. Maybe take local streets as opposed to a highway. And adapting to new technology. So the reason this is a common area of concern for older drivers is because most seniors really have an aversion to new technology. It takes time to learn new things, and many of them, if you're not completely ignoring the new technology, are manipulating it while you're driving. And so we want to encourage you to learn about this new technology in your car before you get on the road. What do you do to improve your safety when driving? Well, there are a number of things that are options, things that we can do. We call it basic common sense, but I've certainly learned that common sense is certainly uncommon. One of those things, a couple of those things, are modifications to your driving ability, and these are things that you can do on your own. The first may be daytime driving, so just modifying your driving times to daytime driving so that you've got more light and you can see better what's coming around you. Also, good weather driving, obviously. I mean, if it's raining, sleeting, snowing, you really don't want to be in a car anyway. But safety, safety, safety. So definitely, try to be on the road when the weather is the best. The less traffic times during the day. Well, preferably, if you can do that, that is certainly the best. But I do notice there's certainly quite a lot of traffic during the day as well as the evenings, but definitely be careful as you're out there during the day. You want to avoid your left-hand turns, as I mentioned, taking the 3 right-hand turns to turn you around so that you can go directly through a light as opposed to going across traffic, especially if there is no light signal, left-hand light signal for you to take. You want to avoid backing up. And in this case, this is important because Many people really have difficulty as we age turning our trunk around to see what's happening behind us. And also, if you're in a parking lot, most people walking through the pedestrians through parking lots, walking through parking lots, really aren't paying attention to a lot of the cars around them. The kids are running through the parking lot. You just never know what's coming. And so you want to try to position yourself if you pulled into a parking lot so that you find two parking lots right in front of each other, one right behind each other, so you can drive right through from one space to the next so that you can just pull straight out going forward and not back up. And we also want to recommend that you take shorter trips if possible. In this picture, you see a driver that's wearing an easy reach seatbelt handle, and if you pay attention to that, it's that little white plastic handle there that if you have difficulty with your reaching your arm up to pull the seatbelt over, you can just pull on this little white handle, and it makes it much easier to reach that seatbelt and lock yourself in. Physical health and driving issues. There are a number of things here. There's reduced strength and physical endurance that traditionally happens over time. And then there's also a reduced overall movement and flexibility, or even pain, such as head and neck rotation and flexibility that allows the driver to turn and observe all angles during driving is impaired. So, we really want you to pay attention to how you're feeling before you get behind the wheel of a car. We encourage physical health tips, such as increasing your exercise with, of course, physician guidance, that you pay attention to your nutrition and you improve your nutrition, that you get enough sleep, you have your regular medical checkups, you wear your hearing aids if they're required for you, and you really pay attention to and manage pain. All of these things are vitally important to being as healthy as you can behind the wheel. Vision and driving issues. Well, we know that eyesight changes with age, and traditionally what happens is we lose the ability to change our focus quickly. And what happens is essentially we need more contrast between objects. And for this reason, we have difficulty with night vision, so we're not able to distinguish one thing from the other as clearly. And also, we have a slower transition from light to dark that happens as we age. And this means there's often a increased glare sensitivity. So it's difficult to manage when cars are coming toward us in the evening with their lights on. We recommend that you schedule annual eye exams, and also that you keep your windshield, headlights, and mirrors clean. I know this is common sense, like I said, but you'd be surprised how many people don't do that. Make sure you can read the gauges in your car. There is a brightness panel that we encourage you to find and turn the brightness up on the instrument panel so you can see the instruments more clearly. And we ask you to also consider, for those of you who may have inherited their husband's car or that might not be comfortable not able to see the ground in front of them, that you sit high enough in your seat so that you can see the road in front of you for at least 10 feet. And if you can't do that, then definitely to connect with one of our CarFit programs to help you make the adjustments you need. One of the other things that's interesting is that a number of people have parking permits in their cars, and traditionally, where do we find them? Behind the rearview mirror. And the problem is we need to encourage you not to drive with a permit hanging from your rearview mirror, because it blocks your view of oncoming traffic and obstacles. So if you see in this particular photo, we have our rearview mirror parking there and a parking permit hanging from that one spot. And when we removed it, we found there was a woman standing right in that spot. So we just want to stay aware of the fact that it's illegal technically to have that parking permit hanging from your rearview mirror. But beyond that, it's illegal because we're missing some vital information that parking permit is blocking or can block. We encourage thinking skills and driving. We consider some of the issues that happens with our thinking, because driving is all thinking. I mean, it's one decision after another from the minute you get to the car, into the car, and get on the road. So we recognize reaction time slow down. We recognize that people are suffering with a number of different diseases, like recovering from stroke, or might have Alzheimer's and have a tendency to wander on the road, or diabetes that can affect decision-making skills. And also, sometimes it's hard to ignore the distractions between the cell phone, your passengers, the GPS, the radio, or maybe even the need to text, whatever that is. So please pay attention to that. Tips to stay mentally active. Well, you want to use your problem-solving skills in non-driving ways to help mental flexibility. So we encourage jigsaw puzzles or crossword puzzles, Sudoku, word searches, and we also encourage you to learn a new hobby or skill. So if you want to learn how to knit or sew or get into computers or whatever it is that appeals to you, computer games, there are even computer cognitive training programs that are really quite wonderful. Anything that's going to stretch your mind and keep you mentally active is what we recommend. Some tips for safety. We encourage you to plan enough time for your trip. A lot of times people tend to run late for things, which is understandable. So we're encouraging you to plan enough time for wherever it is you want to go so that you're not rushed on the road. We encourage you to plan your route and consider the traffic, the weather, and the road conditions for that particular day. We encourage you to drive during the day and to use intersections with left-hand signals. And also to keep a safe distance between you and the car ahead. And I get this all the time, that people will say they leave a safe distance between you and the car ahead of you, and then somebody jumps right in between you. So be kind and just add a little bit extra space between you and the new car that has jumped in between you. And just be sure that you get to your destination safely. How medications affect driving. Well, there are a number of things here. We're living in the world of polypharmacy, unfortunately. Many of these medications that are being taken, and sometimes the reaction times of the combination between medications can cause drowsiness and slower your reaction time on the road. Every now and then you'll see a medication that even has a warning or an alert on it that says, be careful driving an automobile. And it's kind of interesting. It used to be that the picture they had was like a tractor or a truck. But the truth of the matter is your own car is actually considered a heavy vehicle. So you just really want to take care wherever you read or see any of those alerts. And again, keep in mind, drug combinations may produce unexpected and dangerous side effects. So we want to encourage you to include over-the-counter medications with whatever it is you're taking, and take it to your pharmacist or a doctor to review, to be sure that there are no undue effects for those medications or that combination of medications that you're taking, because everything can affect your driving and your safety on the road. If two of your medications may interact and make your driving unsafe, you really want to know about that before you get behind the wheel. And as I mentioned before, you want to do a brown bag check of your medications, which means that you're going to take all of your medications that have been prescribed for you by all of your doctors, and you're going to put that in a brown bag, plus all of the over-the-counter medications, plus all of the vitamins that you're taking. And you want to take that to your doctor or your pharmacist to be sure that you don't have any any effects on you that may impede your driving. So that's a really important thing to do, and we encourage you to do it at least once a year. And it's because we're seeing so many different types of doctors. We've got an optometrist, we've got a general practitioner, we may have a cardiologist, a podiatrist, so that as to how this list goes. So, and it seems at the end of the day, everybody's prescribing something, but your general practitioner may not be aware of the things that are being prescribed for you. So, so this is your one way to be sure that you're on the same page with everybody else. Some of the resources to keep you safe on the road. So we have a CarFit community program, which is based out of Mercy College, and it offers older drivers the opportunity to check how well their personal vehicles fit them. And this is really important, as I said, because a lot of times women in particular may inherit their husband's cars if their husband has passed, and invariably we find that very few of them will make adjustments to the mirrors or the seats and how they fit in that particular vehicle. So it makes it very complicated for them to move around in their car. And they also provide, CarFit does information and materials on community-specific resources, things that can help you, again, stay safe on the road. Some of the equipment that's available to adapt the car, we see picture number 1, which is the device that you can use to pull over your shoulder. It extends your reach so that you don't have to, if you have problems with your shoulder and reach in general, and it's painful for you to reach up for your seatbelt, then I think this adds at least 6 inches or more to your reach. You can just grab the loop and pull your seatbelt down and lock yourself in, and you're good. Number 2 is called a handy bar, and that really fits right in that little metal loop when you open your door on the side, not the door side, but the frame side. And most cars have it. I've seen a few cars that did not have it, but for those that do have it, you can just lock the handy bar into that little loop, and it gives you a solid, strong handle to maneuver into your car if you needed to. It also has a couple of other unique features where the very tip of that little metal handle can be used to break a window if there was an accident, God forbid, or and that little white area that you see there has a razor blade in it, and it's to be used to cut your seatbelt if you get caught in your car, because a lot of the cars now are electric. So if there's a problem, you may not be able to get out easily of the car anyway. Number 3, these are additional mirrors, side view mirrors, and they're really great and very important. And you can see in the picture how you have 2 different views on that side view mirror, and really important because a lot of us do not have our mirrors properly adjusted and really can't see what's coming on our driver's side, much less the passenger side. So here you see the smaller side view mirror that's on the top of the regular side view mirror, and it just adds certainly more depth and perspective from that position. And then number 4, we like to call this one a little lazy Susan for your bottom. And if you're having difficulty with your trunk, with your legs, just getting them into the car, you can sit this on the seat of your car, and it sort of spins, and it helps you to spin your trunk into the driving position so that you're seated more easily. We have medically based driving rehabilitation evaluations available, and they are also performed by occupational therapists or driving rehabilitation specialists. The evaluation involves a clinical and on-road assessment, and it looks at skills needed to drive safely. And also there could be a recommendation for equipment or practice. So at the end of the day, these evaluations are very thorough. And if, for example, you are recuperating from an illness, a stroke, or something where your doctor's recommended that you no longer drive or you stop driving for a short period of time, then this is a great way to determine whether or not you're ready to be back on the road. Why some people decide to stop driving? Well, there are a number of things that happen here. There's the hassle and the expense of auto insurance, car maintenance, gasoline, and the cost itself averages about $8,700 per year to maintain a mid-sized car, and that's according to the AAA numbers. Some people are no longer feeling safe on the road. They may have had a recent injury or illness, or somebody may have said that their driving is no longer safe, that they're not comfortable with what they've witnessed you doing on the road or driving, how your driving is on the road. We encourage everybody to create what we call a mobility action plan. And that is that you keep a list for a week or so of where you need to go, where you want to go within your community, and then think about alternatives about how you could get there if you were not able to drive. I encourage everybody to create one of these action plans for themselves, because invariably it may be your turn when you find out that you can't get someplace that you want to go because either you don't have the car or you're not feeling well enough to drive. And of course, the operative timing is to do it when you don't need it. Some of the alternatives to driving: you want to ask a family member or friend for a ride. You want to be a safe pedestrian. We encourage you to be safe on the road if you're walking. In particular, in our areas in New Rochelle, White Plains, and Yonkers, there was a state study done that found that these three areas had the highest number of fatalities, pedestrian fatalities. So we really want to encourage you to be safe and really pay attention to what's happening on the road. Take public transportation as much as possible, or take a senior transit shuttle. There are many of them that are available at our senior centers. We have volunteer drivers and rides that you could get through Westfair Rides or Ride Connect, paratransit, and there are a number of other options available as well. Some alternatives to driving: we encourage you to take advantage of delivery services, groceries, meals, for medications, to shop from catalogs for clothes, gifts, furniture, whatever's going to be easier for you. And again, we emphasize the safety of being a pedestrian, that you're careful at your intersections, that you're watching your crossing times. If you require more time than the walk sign gives you to cross, that you really pay attention. You wait for a fresh light and then cross, giving yourself the most amount of time. That you watch out for backing vehicles because they may really just not see you, and that you really don't put too much trust in the system. Be sure you're taking care of yourself if you're on the road, whether you're walking or you're driving. Just be very careful. I'm going to end with the Older Driver Family Assistance Program, which is a part of the Westchester County Department of Senior Programs and Services. And traditionally, we'll speak with family members about how to initiate conversations with older drivers regarding safety, and even the transition to no longer driving. And we're happy to share information on alternative transportation options countywide. If you have any questions, you can certainly call 813-6188. Thank you, and goodbye.